Hi everyone, Jordan here from Ferret Art Studios. This week I will be demonstrating this painting that I did. I kind of only started it as kind of practice reasons, but I ended up actually really liking the ending product, so I decided to edit all the content that I got while I was painting, and yeah, that's how I got this video. Um, this time since it was just a practice run kind of thing, I used Artist Loft canvas, and that's just because I got a bunch of cheaper quality canvas kind of stored away, so I decided that maybe I'll just use them as practice purposes. And yeah, I usually like working on Frederick's canvas. I just find that the paint that I use really, it just really works with that type of canvas. So yeah, but anyways, this week is this painting here. Yeah, it's my Liquitex Basic Acrylic paints, and I applied it to this Artist Loft canvas. I really hope you guys enjoy.
Since this painting kind of started out as an experiment, for the background I decided to try doing the top parts one set of colors and then the bottom part another set of colors. You can kind of see right now the top is green, and then I decided to like split the canvas in half and do the bottom half blue. I guess I should also mention, sorry about the very weird camera angle. Um, this is the first video I recorded in my actual studio, and the other previous videos I was recording upstairs, and I was just using a series of objects in that room for my tripod. Like, I used a tiny garbage can from the dollar store along with some books, and I even used one of those cases that your iPhone headphones come in. I used one of those containers that they come in to kind of prop up my phone to be able to record. And then once I moved down to my actual studio, I found that those objects just didn't really work out with how I set everything up. Um, but at the time of this painting, I was actually waiting for a tripod to come in from the mail, so you'll tell exactly when I do get it. The the camera is actually more stable, and I'm so happy I actually bought that tripod. Like, I have it here right now in this shot. Um, yeah, I just any little bump with the with the tower of objects and the camera was falling over. It was extremely annoying, and I suggest anyone that's wanting to set up their own channel with doing this, you should really just get the get the tiny tripod your for your phone. I think it was like $20 on Amazon. It was not expensive at all to purchase the the octopus three-leg tripod, I think it was called. I also didn't really expect much to come out of this painting because I don't really paint reptiles all that often, or amphibians, so those are some things that I really want to practice on, and a few other things came into play, like I was using the Artist Loft canvas, and I found that my paint didn't really want to stick to the canvas. Like, while I was doing my background, the green especially, while I was whiting out my subjects, like you can see the chameleon is just white right now. While I was doing that, my paint for the background that was dried, which shouldn't lift so easy was lifting very, very easily when I was putting on my white to kind of block out my subject. But I don't really know if it was doing or if it was reactivating because of the pigment or because of the canvas, because it didn't really do it down with the blue, it only did it with the green. So I don't know if it was actually the pigment of the paint or if it was just because there was not really any tooth for the paint to cling onto. While painting this painting, I actually thought that the leaves gave me the most difficult time. But when I showed my mom this painting, she thought that, or the leaves were her favorite part, and she wasn't the only person who said that. My sister really said that she liked the leaves a lot, and so did my grandma, and a few of my friends who have seen the painting said that the leaves were one of their favorite parts. But I find that so funny because I struggled a lot with the leaves. I think that the leaves are probably what I put the most time into because, and maybe that's actually why they like the leaves the most. But I thought that no matter what I was doing, it didn't look as much, or just it wasn't working how I wanted it to, and I didn't give up. I just let it dry, and I would do another layer, let it dry, do another layer, and I would just basically continuously repeat this until I came up with a look that I did like, and that's when I decided it was time to quit working on the leaves and move on. I don't think I'm really going to spray this painting just yet with my gloss fixative, and that's just because I might actually want to come back to this painting and kind of just revamp a few things, because since this painting I feel like my skills have kind of have been a little bit polished, I guess I'll say. So it would kind of be nice to come back and just kind of fix a few things. I also don't really think that reworking a painting is as horrifying as a lot of people might say, and that's because, well, as you paint other paintings, your skills are going to continuously get better. So if you still like a concept of a older painting you have, and you know that just maybe a few more layers will make it better, then what is the big crime in going back into that painting and giving it a couple more layers and making it look a little bit better? What I like doing with the paintings that I rework is I will take a picture of before I start reworking it, and then I'll take another picture once I'm done reworking the painting, and then I will post on my social media blogs, um, just to show the progress of how practicing with your art will always improve your skills, and basically showing a picture side by side of each other will show how many skills you have improved on that duration of time. I always think that reworking a painting, no matter what, only good can come out of it, because if you're working off of a reference photo, you're going to look at that reference photo even more and observe more with your eye, and the more skills that you gain through that time, the better that you're going to observe your reference photos, and so the more details you're going to be able to get in your paintings. So really, to me, I think reworking a painting, if you really want to rework that painting, is not as scary as what most people make it out to be, and I think you should just go for it if you really think that you want to spice up a painting that you've had in your collection for a while. Then do it, because the more you observe your art, the better it's going to be. So that's basically my views on that. It's also always really good to have a very well detailed reference photo to look off of, because if you don't have a well detailed reference photo, you're not going to be able to observe it properly, and you're going to start making up details for the sake of making up details, and that's not really going to really make your painting stronger. It can actually very well hurt the painting altogether if you start to just assume how textures are built up onto the canvas, or if you just start going off in different directions, and the subjects, like the fur, is actually going in a completely different direction than what you painted, or even mix up some bone structure. So that's why I always try and find very well lit, natural lighting pictures of wildlife, especially wildlife. You want to have them in natural lighting, because if it's artificial lighting, then it's going to look very fuzzy, and it's not going to pick up all the detail on your subject. Something that you can try to, for like exercising of observation, is to put your photo up onto a photo projector and quite literally put your piece of paper up to the wall and trace your outline. And I have gotten in a few arguments about this before. I don't think that tracing a reference photo that you have the copyrights to, I don't think that is cheating at all. You are still making the exact same movements that you would doing the um, doing the outline freehand. You're just saving a lot of time by getting things precise on the very first time, because if you're doing it freehand and it's a subject that you're not overly familiar with, you're going to maybe get the the structure of the skull differently. You might have a few problems basically just with the anatomy of the subject if you haven't drawn it first. Um, so I really think that a photo projector can really help speed up the process of coming up with good outlines freehanding. Um, you can get someone to practice a bunch of dog heads on with using a photo projector, and you can tell them to like draw 20 of them using the photo projector, and then ask them to do it once without the photo projector, and their outlining will be 10 times better than what it would have looked like before the photo projector. So even though in this painting that I got a few fish in here and a few frogs, the chameleon is the main focus of this painting. And that's kind of why I named the painting Camouflage, because even though he's the main subject of the painting, I wanted him to blend into the background, because that's basically what chameleons like to do. So, yeah, even though I wanted him to blend into the background, I also wanted him to definitely stick out, because Um, sorry, I just realizing I'm kind of saying things that kind of contradict what I'm trying to explain. But I basically wanted to use texture to let the eye know that there was an animal there and not just the background. Um, so I used pale yellow for the spots of the chameleon, and I actually take my liner brush and I make a lot of scales to kind of build up a texture, so he doesn't just blend away into the background and you would wouldn't even guess that he's there. Um, so yeah, I basically used contrast and the build up of texture to get the look that I wanted in the end. I've had a few people ask me why didn't I just make the chameleon a different color, and well, that's because I didn't do a panther chameleon. Panther chameleons are the ones that are like purple and red and all the funky colors. I forget what this one's called. I basically just know that the crown ones basically range from like browns to vibrant greens. And I guess, yeah, I could have done it brown, but I've heard that like when lizards turn brown, it means that they're not really healthy. So I didn't necessarily want to paint an unhealthy chameleon. So that's basically why I stayed to the traditional green chameleon. My reference photo of the chameleon, he was actually shedding during the time of the photo, so that's kind of why the crown of his head is just kind of this pale green color, and you'll see that I don't really detail it as much as the rest of him, and that's just because the shedded layer of skin basically kind of canceled out a lot of the texture in the reference photo. So I didn't really want to start making up details just for the sake of making up details. Since I've been painting a lot recently, I have been finding that I have used a round synthetic brush and my filbert brushes and every single painting that I have done so far. So I highly suggest that if you want to start painting, to pick up maybe 4 or even 5 different sizes of round head synthetic brushes, maybe even one hog hair, and um, maybe a couple filbert brushes, because you'll find that you'll use them a lot. I find that I'm always using the round head brushes to actually apply the paint, and then I'm using the filbert brush to smooth it out and blend and um, use my filberts for my glazes and all that kind of stuff. I found another amazing website for reference photos. It's called Wildlife Reference Photos. You have to pay a small fee for a photo, but it's a good price to get the copyright for a photo, and you can use these photos, not the actual photo itself, but you can use these photos to create your own artwork, and then you can sell your own artwork using these photos. So I find that it's an awesome website. I'll leave a link down in the description for you guys. The photos over there are very great quality, and yeah, I really, really highly suggest that you guys head on over there. Yellow is usually a very funny color to work with. You usually don't want to add it into a lot of living creatures. You'll usually use it more with things like flowers and leaves even leaves you might want to have more of an earthy color, but flowers, you'll definitely use yellow with flowers. But I actually used it in the reptile because I think reptiles are something that's pretty much alien. Um, I guess alien isn't the right word, but they have very strong pigments in their skin, and um, so I basically used yellow the on the chameleon because I thought that I don't know that the contrast on it would look pretty cool. If I do redo this painting, I think I will kind of mix more of an yellow orchard color, and that's just basically because I kind of do want it to have a little bit of a more earthier color, but I do think that that reptiles can be an exception to using straight up yellow. In my reference photo, the contrast on the chameleon was very strong, and the shadows on the scales were actually very dark. So basically, what I was doing here was making the shadows to all the scales. Um, the scales were actually very easy to see on the reference photo, and that's why I decided to add them into my painting, because if I could see it easily, then I can observe the reference photo easily, so that's why I added in the scales. Doing the scales on the chameleon was basically the last few finishing touches for details on this painting. So once I was done the scales, I basically did my finishing touches. I cleaned up some edges and just kind of made sure that my contrast was how I wanted it. And yeah, I put away my reference photo at this point in time, and I basically just kind of go off of what I want to do with the painting. The next video I'm going to upload is actually going to be the second part to the series that I'm doing this year of marine creatures swimming with flowers. So if you follow me over on Facebook, you probably have already seen the picture up over there. And if not, I will leave a few links in the description for you guys so you can go check that out. But yeah, I hope you guys tune in for that one. I really like the painting. It's one of my favorites right now. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys found my tips useful. And yeah, I hope you guys tune in for our next one. It's going to be the second part of the series that I'm doing. It's already up on Facebook, so I'll leave a link in the description for you guys. I'll also leave a link in the description for my website and for Twitter. Besides that, I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.